What's up, Alex?
Hey, not much, not much. Excited to be here.
Yeah?
Yeah, super
What have you been
excited.
up to?
Man, well, trying to keep up, stay alive with this pandemic, that is going on. It's kind of not great, but,
Yeah?
thankful that I'm actually working, that we have a job,
Mm-hmm.
that I get able to get out of the house because
I
otherwise
know. Jesus.
I would, go crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Same old, man. Working, trying to, make things happen during crazy situations. So that's how business goes sometimes. But, I wanted to start off with today's podcast as an introduction to the world and introduce ourselves to whoever is listening to the podcast. I think we will bring some pretty cool insights, really, to the entrepreneurship world. And so I'll introduce myself, and then you can go after. Hi world. My name is Odi De La Paz. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Sensytec Inc. We are a local startup company in Houston, Texas, focusing on concrete monitoring technologies in verticals of construction and oil and gas. So, yeah, Alex, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone that is listening up there. Alex Santander here. Like Odi mentioned, I'm part of the Sensytec team, and I couldn't be more excited and proud to be part of this amazing team, the family.
Yeah,
Uh, I started this journey a year ago. Actually, I joined Sensytec.
yeah, it's a
Yeah,
year already.
a year, and time flies. Yeah. So prior Sensytech, I was working full time as a lead estimator for a construction company. So when I learned about Sensytech, it was a no brainer.
Mm-hmm.
It was right on my alley, something that I definitely wanted to do, and excited to be here. Thank you.
Cool, man. Awesome. I also wanted to discuss a little bit about why are we in headphones and a mic in front of us and the camera recording, and why in the
And the
heck
beer.
do we do this? Don't say no. Don't say that. Yeah, we might get in trouble. No, but in all seriousness, uh, networking, I would say, but also like getting to know individuals uh, in the same ballpark where we are in is super important. And learning from everybody's ideas or opinions or I guess businesses that they're trying to start is super important. So one of the main motivations that I guess I wanted to start this podcast during a time of a crazy situation with COVID and riots and natural disasters that are occurring in the world. I think looking at the positive aspect of like giving information is super important. Um, and so one of the main things is how can my experiences that I've been through benefit either future entrepreneurs that are coming or benefit entrepreneurs that are actually in the same struggle that I am in, right? And bounce ideas off, bounce struggles off, and, be able to help each other, really. So at the end of the day, our goal is to create something out of nothing, right? And how do we get there is the key to success, really.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't do it alone. We gotta do it with other people to support us, regardless of the situation. Because we're in a crazy pandemic, in some cases it can affect you financially or mentally, of course. But at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, I think positivity, patience, and persistence is key to getting out of this alive, man. I really think so.
I agree 100% with you. When you mentioned that you a week ago, right? When you mentioned that you wanted to do the podcast,
Yeah.
I honestly thought that it was a great idea. But when you mentioned that you wanted to do something different, something that it was not gonna be just a regular podcast, when you go and just like talk about your success and
No.
all that. It clicked immediately because yeah, I know when you say like we don't build these alone, right? And talking about the failures and the things that you go through when you start a business, I think is a benefit that can be spread right to
Yeah,
everybody.
for sure.
And because a lot of people talks about their gains and all the good things that is happening, but not a lot of people talk about the bad things that happens, right? Or how
Yeah.
did they get there, or how do they achieve the status quo where they are, and things like that. So I stand behind your your idea. I think it's great.
No, I think like from what I've done as far as my research, and maybe I haven't dug too deep, but I think the more information that's out there, the better. At the end of the day, because you look at future entrepreneurs and the stage where we are now, from the stage that we were back then when we first started the company, totally different. Like the idea was different, everything was different. The mentality, my mentality, everything was different. And the growth that we had so far, it's not drastic growth, but it's growth. I mean, you take it what it is. So somewhere within that growth stage, someone is going through the same thing. And the podcast that we're having, we don't even have a name for it yet, right? I just wanted to put content out there. Doesn't matter who listens, but to take something that's real and is not BSing, bullshitting around the bush, really. It's real. It's real stuff. It's real life experiences that, my age or your age or whoever is listening to this can benefit from regardless, because at the end of the day, it's about growing and living life. So this podcast, I wanted to make it general, not be able to, talk about your generic things. Like, I wanted to be about your life. Tell me about your life. Tell me about what struggles you go through, mentally, physically, whatever. I want to be able to share your story around the world and have somebody that's probably in the same shoes hear you out. And how'd you get out of that? And how'd you make that work? And who'd you go to? What resources you used? And that's super important, I think. And from my research, I haven't seen nobody do something like that. And at the end of the day, I want to have people on this podcast that are, in most cases, the same shoes that I am in. Going through the struggles, not necessarily, getting funding or being able to close a $200 million round. At the end of the day, you start a business with your own money and take it from there, or find a way to bring people on that can support you from day one and take it from there. And so that's, I think, for me, the most important thing about the podcast.
Definitely, I agree with you. I feel like a lot of people, will find these a lot of benefit on this. Like
Yeah.
you say, we have a lot of podcasts, we have a lot of things up there, but those things is I feel like they're in some way they are customized, right, to some
Yeah.
audience, to some listeners, but there is nothing real. So a podcast where you can go and just full disclosure, talk about whatever you want to talk about, right? Whatever you feel comfortable, like you mentioned, your mental health, you whatever you want to talk about it, whatever, how the struggles that you go, the daily struggles that you go.
Yeah.
And yeah, no,
Agreed.
definitely, I love the idea.
Being vulnerable.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely, really 101.
One-on-one,
Um,
with with a beer or whatever it might be, just chatting is super important. But one thing I also wanted to kind of get from you, I guess you can be my first participant,
Okay.
is, I want to understand what really brought you to a point of working with the startup, and what is your motivation, in doing that. I mean, I know you have entrepreneurial blood, right? I'll say it like that, I guess. But you have that trait to like work as hard as you can to make an idea happen, or to make something work out of nothing in some cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
So crazy people think that way. I think you have to be on a different level to really excel that ability to take something to a different level. So I wanted to just kind of learn from you, understand what is your thoughts, what goes through your head every day of like, I made the right decision in working with a startup and not going for a corporate job or whatever that might be. And yeah, just want to learn that from you.
One important thing about me is that I love the fact I was a WCE when I learned about the power of fellowship, right? When you like Bill Sherrill said to me once, you want to be an effective leader,
Good guy.
yeah, then you had to be a great follower.
Yeah.
And but there is a key concept with this. You're not just gonna follow anybody. There has to be a vision, and there has to be, I think, you have to be compatible with that person, right? They had to be in alignment.
Right.
When I first met you, I had a really good impression about you, and then I did my research,
Thanks, man.
with some people. And
What'd you find out?
You're welcome.
I
And
want to
then,
know. What did they tell you?
they told me you were a good guy. That's what Dave say. Most of the time, Dave Cook.
They
But-
better.
but anyway, going back to the point, why, my why behind it, I think I want to touch as many people as I can, and I want to create impact. At the end of the day, that's my overall goal, right?
Mhm.
I want to be like a motivation to a lot of people. I want to be, let's say, an example for many people, and especially for my community, the Hispanic community. So when I saw the opportunity about Sensytec, going to a corporate job, 9 to 5, I know that it's gonna be hard to make an impact on people,
Mhm.
because it is difficult. I've seen it in a lot of people, but I think when you had that experience or start something from nothing like you did, right, and then you bring people to your team that you believe in, and that person believe in you and believe in the vision, believe in the mission, I think that's a game changer.
Yeah.
And from that point on, then you can start establishing a culture. So in a sense, what I'm looking for in Sensytec is create a culture, right? Create a culture where we have a company that it belongs to everybody, not just to the co-founder or the person started.
Investors.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but if you think about it, going to a corporate job, you're not gonna have that. But if
Yeah.
you start in a place where it's like building and growing up, you can be the one helping this company. You can be putting those bricks, those building blocks, right? You can be in the foundation, from the foundation up. So I think that's one of my main motives, and why do I want it to be in the startup ecosystem, and why did I want to be with Sensytec.
Do you have any like startup experience or like entrepreneurial experience when you were younger? And
I used to sell avocados when I was 5.
really, when you were 5?
Yeah, I sold everything that my mom made, like from
Really?
you name it, like tamales, everything.
There you go.
I was not afraid to put myself up there.
Were you not afraid, or they made you?
I think the circumstances made me to not be afraid. And it is funny that I don't love money. There is a lot of people that like, they like
They
see
like,
money
yeah,
as,
the
I
motivation is
see
money.
money as my let's say a mobile, like, mobile that I needed to take me from point A to point B, and I saw money ever since I was growing up that way. I know that I needed money to do certain things, so I was like, how to get that money. I'm not in love with money or the idea of being rich, a billionaire or millionaire or anything, but I know that it's necessary for me to be, from point A to point B, or like pursue my goals, like in a sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
clearly, man. Yeah, just a little story too about avocados and watermelons. My parents also put me to do that at a very young age. I remember going. We actually My dad rented out a little paleta truck,
Mm-hmm.
like, or not the truck, but like the pushing cart,
Mm-hmm.
and he would send me around the neighborhood to go sell paletas. And crazy things happened because we didn't live in a good neighborhood. I mean, it was, it was a rough neighborhood. So I one incident actually occurred where, some young kids. I was maybe like 10 years old. They were probably 15. They stole from me.
Wow.
They didn't pay for their paletas, man. and it was crazy. I couldn't do anything. What do you want me to do? I was 10 years old. Like, but like those situations kind of like cultivate you into being somebody later in life, and those experiences. And, from my father, giving me those experiences throughout my life, super critical when you're, older and actually trying to start your own business. So my father has his own business, and he, like you said, he immigrated to the U.S. with nothing, and now he has his own businesses and is looking forward to retirement. At the end of the day, he's comfortable, and so like living that life of like, if my dad can come with nothing and have the aspirations of the American dream, putting all his kids, through a good life and, college, why can't I do the same? I actually have to exceed those expectations, right? And that's what sometimes people don't understand when you have these very cultured parents, because like they're coming from a different scenario or a different life, and then starting something over with no one to guide them. And so pushing your kids to that point of like, I need you to be somebody better than what I am. And that's the aspirations of like an entrepreneur as well. And that's the code that I usually live by, by doing the same thing of like my thoughts and learnings as an entrepreneur, and providing the same learnings and experiences to other entrepreneurs, So
So you see, we have a shared vision, I guess, in common now. Yeah, that's my ultimate goal in life, is to change the life of many people in my own country.
yeah,
Unfortunately, people probably don't know, I'm not from Nicaragua. It's a third world country. And education, probably this is the first time that you're gonna hear this, but education in a third world country is not a right, it's a privilege.
really.
If you have money, if you have resources, if you know someone, then you're gonna be educated. Doesn't
Like,
matter.
how is the education though? Is the education good?
The education is average. Is obviously it's not the best education, but it's good. But the point being is, you have to have connections. You have to have money to be educated. I love education, like my whole life. Ever since I remember, I'm always good with books and reading and things like that. And I graduated and I wanted to be educated. And that's one of the reasons a lot of people don't know, but the main reason why I left my country was when after a year, I graduated from high school, from college, and I wanted to go to the university, and I couldn't afford to pay $17 a month. That was how much it cost
Really?
back in the day. Yeah. And then I said, fuck it. If this country is not gonna give me the education that I want, that I deserve, then I'm gonna get it somewhere else. And then I came to the U.S.
How old were you?
I was 16. I was
when you
16
came
when
to
I
the
made
U.S.?
that decision in my life,
What
to
did your parents say?
well, my mom said, "Que Dios te bendiga."
Are you serious?
No, my mom and I had a good relationship, so she
I'm
trusts
sure
me a
she
lot. Yeah,
understood.
she trusts me a lot. It was
Yeah.
really hard for her because at that time I was providing for her already. I was working in probably you don't know this either. I was working in a cigar factory making cigars
In Nicaragua.
in Nicaragua,
Wow.
illegally at the age at the age of 13 until 16. I was making cigars. I'm pretty damn good too.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And I make cigars, and I was supporting my mom at that time, and and then I decided to come here, and so I definitely can relate to the example that you gave about your parents and you with the,
Yeah.
selling the paletas. I thought the story that you were gonna say with the paletas is that you ate them all once, but but
Nah,
you
I
got
couldn't
someone
do
stole the
that.
paletas.
Someone stole my
Yeah.
paletas, man.
But no, definitely. I think that this is a very important topic, that
Yeah.
not a lot of people talk about it, and not a lot of people, we don't give credit to these people that come to this country with not knowing the language, not knowing anything really, like not even the culture.
I don't know nothing.
And
I didn't even know how to order a hamburger. You know
I
what
used to say number seven,
There you
number
go.
seven. That was the only
Número
thing.
siete.
Yeah, honestly, and and like them, I came with, I think, just a big bag of dreams and nothing else.
There you go.
And and then you start unpacking those dreams one by one. You start seeing a reality, and then you start seeing the things that
Yeah.
if you work hard, you can get in this country. And and now that I'm in part of Sensytec, I just like look back where I started from, not even knowing how to say probably like a full sentence in English, and
Now you're on a podcast talking
Yeah.
for your English.
I know, right? But no, definitely, I see the value in that. I see
Yeah.
the value in like bringing to people a different perspective, like right in life, because a lot of people don't necessarily know a lot of things about us, like
Yeah.
like you say, through this podcast, a lot of people kind of know things they didn't know about you. They're selling paletas, so things they didn't know about me. And
Yeah.
I love that.
So,
Definitely.
what is one thing that you would tell yourself when you were 16 years old? Like, what would that be? And if there was something that you can change at that point in time, what would it be?
I would have had told myself leave the country earlier. I would have
Earlier.
left. Yeah. I left at 16. Yeah, I probably would have like at 13, right when I finished
13.
high school. I would have like
Left.
yeah, because there is a reality in these countries, like there is a wall that you don't realize, right? Like your parents, they protect you from that. Like you don't see that
Yeah.
until you are in an age you're like, wait,
Yeah.
why I don't can go past through this? And then you ask your parents, and they're like, well, I mean, that's the same wall that we see every day ever since we remember.
Yeah.
And so when the moment that I find myself staring at that big wall and not way to claim, and was not an exit for me, then that was the moment that I realized that I had to do something, not only for me but for my family, right? For my younger brother and sister. I didn't want them to see that wall, like that I was like standing right at it. And I think so far that was one of the big accomplishments that I had in life, that they didn't see that wall. They didn't
Really?
have to. Yeah, they graduated, they went to school, they did what they wanted to. So
That's good. That's good. How many brothers and sisters you have?
I have 2 sisters, 2 brothers.
And they're all back in
Yeah.
Nicaragua, or what?
One of my brothers, my older brother, he's in Miami. He lives in Miami, and
Good.
my older sister lives in Venezuela,
Okay.
and my younger brother and sister lives in Nicaragua.
Man, so you're the only one in here in Houston, really, Texas.
The only
Do
one.
you go see your brother every now and then in Miami?
I only went twice. Yeah.
To go see your brother. He's your oldest brother, right? He's the oldest of everyone.
Mhm.
Good. I have so there's 5 of us. I have 1 sister and then 4 other brothers. 3 other brothers, and I'm the youngest of 5.
You're the
So,
lucky one. They
I'm
get
not the
all
lucky
the
one, man.
attention.
That's what they always say. I don't know why. I mean, at the end of the day, maybe I've gotten treated a little bit better compared to
Exactly.
the oldest. But at the end of the day, you still have to live through that life of like your parents potentially
Exactly.
being strict on you. You know what I mean?
Let's go back to the example with the paletas. What do your dad say when you're like,
Oh,
oh,
he
me
kicked my
robaron las
ass.
paletas?
Huh?
What he did?
He kicked my ass.
He did?
No, he didn't kick my ass, but he did be like, why would you let somebody take paletas from you? You
Okay.
know what I mean?
Now go back and ask your older brother what your dad did to him. Probably he had to work extra hours to pay for the paletas.
No, he probably kicked his ass.
See,
That's probably what he did.
That's the difference between the older child and you get privileges.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about that, privileges, like, is that really a privilege? Not getting your ass kicked by your parents. At the end of the day, like, looking at it, my dad was raised in Mexico, born and raised, and usually people like that are raised in a culture like that, where you're in a small town and you have a strict thing to do and you have strict parents as well, like, it's gonna pass down. So, but it helps, I think. I mean, being able to make sure your kids are in line and don't get out of line, because in society we'll kick your ass if that's not corrected when you're at home. But that was a learning experience for me, and changing different ways of how to sell paletas so nobody was stealing from you. Oh, well, I'd rather get the money first, give them the money first, and then I'll give you the paletas.
Exactly. So
Problem solved.
that's the experience that now allows you to think as a business owner and to make some more decisions, because you had to go through things like that, right?
Exactly.
Like,
You live and you learn.
And most people, they had the opportunity to do that, then they don't know that, right? And I think that's one of the things you want to accomplish with this podcast, right? You want to be able to say, hey, I went through these based on this experience, and I'm doing these because of this, right? So kind of connecting the dots, and through that, sharing knowledge and passing down, because that's the way we learn, right?
That's the way you learn, man. For me, I have to experience something to be able to learn from it and change if there needs to be any change. If something goes as planned, right? I'm not that type of person where I have to have a plan and only that plan. It has to be adaptable to the environment you're in, and the environment changes like crazy, right? So you have to be able to do something like that. And I see sometimes it's actually good to have someone within the organization that is specifically like that. And I think, within Sensytec, you're that type of person where it's strictly, not really strictly, but like they have a plan, right? And maybe we can follow that plan, but at the end of the day, sometimes we got to veer off. And someone that can be open, to changing and to change can be the overcome of the success of the company, But if you're strictly just like, oh, I'm going to do this, if it doesn't work, my life is over, no one would get through that. And I think being flexible is key, man.
I totally agree with you. The part of me that like to have a plan is I like to project through the future. I like to see, hey, like if I get this plan in place, what is this gonna take me? And then from that, I plan backwards. So, but I'm not like 100% set on that. If something comes my way, I quickly, pivot, change it, whatever, by all means. Yeah, exactly. I think that's one of the key components of having a plan is being able to be flexible. To say, okay, if it doesn't work, what is the next alternative, or what is the next step, or how can I pivot or go around, right?
Yeah.
And
so you ever had a moment in your life coming from here to the U.S. at 16, and what was your plan, really? Like, did you have a plan, or did you just came here just like, see what happens?
No, I had a plan.
You had a plan. So what was your plan?
My plan was to be educated. That was how it's been. Plans. It's funny that you asked that question because I feel like no one had asked me that. But at a very young age, I
Yeah, you're
already
16.
knew.
Like,
Yeah, I
you
already
know.
knew that I wanted to be educated, and I say this
But like,
because
give me context around the educated part. Like, what do you mean?
I figured it out very young that when, especially coming from the third world country, I think I had this opportunity to see things the other way that people don't see. So when you are in a third world country, it's in the best interest of the government to not educate people. They train you a little bit, right, to do their job, to do the work, to listen, to obey, to comply. So education is limited. So, and then I always question that. I always want to say that, wait, but I want to learn about this. I want to learn about the stars. My favorite thing to read is about
Stars,
the stars, the universe.
galaxy. Yeah.
I love everything about it. And then I started reading about Saturn, and like the solar system, and Saturn is my favorite planet. And then I started reading
Really?
about it.
Cool.
I started reading about it, and I knew a lot about it, but I didn't have a lot of information. And then I started going to the library, and I saw the limited information. And then I started questioning that why we have such a limited information. Then I correlated that to other areas, right? Like why we don't ask this or why we don't have that done. I knew that education, it was not gonna be, if I was gonna be educated, it was not gonna be in my country. Then I made a plan and I say, okay, I'm gonna leave this country that is not gonna give me education that I deserve,
Yeah.
that I want. Then I came to the US. And then that was the second wall that I found when I came to the US, right? I'm like a little boy, 16 years old from a third world country. I didn't speak a single word in English, illegal in a sense. And
So how'd you learn? Like, how did you get through those struggles?
the first thing that I did, like since I love learning, I carried a dictionary, like a pocket dictionary on my Google Translator wasn't a thing back then, 2007.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a thing. Like they didn't have that. So I would listen to people and I would hear the words they were saying, and I was like, okay, I would memorize the word and repeat it, and then I would go to the little dictionary. I would put it out on my pen. I would put it in my packets,
Really?
and then and look at the word. And then from that, I start creating sentences. I would start creating, I put it two words together. I remember the first sentence that I created by myself. I will never forget is the sentence that I heard once, and then I googled it. And piece by piece is I don't know what you're talking about. That's the first thing. That's the first thing that I learned how to say in a sentence.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and
Well, someone told you that or what?
I hear it a couple times,
heard
but I
it.
didn't know
Okay.
what it meant. So
Okay,
like
okay.
the guy, what he was telling me, So I googled it, and then I started looking at it, and I was like, okay. And some people were like, sometime I would go to Walmart, and then like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. That's the only thing that I need to have to say.
That's good.
But that's beside the point. Going to the point of I had that plan. I had the plan that I wanted to be educated. I had the plan that I wanted to reach higher education.
Yep.
To because I knew that pretty much education is the worst enemy of ignorance. And when you are ignorant, the people that is ignorant is because they're not educated. And I felt that in my country, a lot of the things that people go through is because they're not educated. They don't have the right education, right? And so I had that plan, and I had to go through a lot of things to pivot it, and then to come where I am. But yeah, I had that plan.
So how long did it take you to like overcome that challenge of like or like when did you fulfill, I guess maybe you haven't fulfilled, I guess, or not fully fulfilled the education part. Like maybe you're still learning every day, but like when did you feel like you're on the right track? You know what I mean? To that goal.
The first day that I put my feet at the University of Houston, my dream was fulfilled.
How did you know about the U of H, or like, you know what I mean?
I applied to it. I didn't know. I first of all, I wasn't sure that I was gonna go through the university, right? Because there was so many obstacles on my way.
But like, so you were here at 16.
Mm-hmm.
So usually here, and you're still in high school at 16. right?
Yeah.
You don't graduate till you're 18,
Yeah.
17, 18 years old.
Hmm.
So what happened in those years that got you to the University of Houston?
I came to 16 and 2007. I didn't go to school. Immediately, I started working and making money. That
Oh,
was,
okay.
yeah. So I saw,
So you found
like
a
I say,
job.
that's why the plan is important to me, because if I had the vision, then I work my way backwards. So, and then I said, okay, what is the next thing that I need to fulfill the plan? I needed money. The money was necessary for me to pay a lawyer to fix my status, so for me to go to school.
Yeah.
And the first thing that I had to do is to work my ass off to get the money, right? And I worked
Yeah.
I worked days and nights. I used to work 18, 24 hours.
Where?
I used to
What
not
would you
sleep.
do?
And I used to be a painter. I used to paint houses, and then from that I become a I was working for this guy from Colombia, and then I became a supervisor, and then a project manager. And from that, I saved a lot of money. Bought my
Good.
first house at 17. I bought it back in 2019 when the economy was really bad. So I bought it for $20,000. I flipped the house in 2013 for 85. And with that money, I started buying more property and flipping more houses. I used to flip houses.
Good. Yeah.
And, I did that for a couple of years, established a little small business with one partner that I had it back in Jacksonville, Florida. I sold that company to one of my friends. He was only in business for 6 months.
That's
Because
good. So you do have some type of entrepreneurial experience.
yeah, definitely, like my whole
Good.
life.
Well, you
Eh,
should. Yeah, you should have
yeah.
said that earlier.
But it was not relevant at the time. But no, going back to the point is, I feel like you had to, that plan, it led me to then when I had enough money.
Yeah.
Not only that, I had to put my family in a financial situation like a better, right? So my mom to this day, she don't have to work. She has like anything she wants.
Good.
And and then when I came to the Houston, pretty much, I was like, okay, I'm in a better situation right now, financially. I'm gonna go to school to learn English. That was my main priority. I wanted
Yeah.
to be able to communicate effectively, right? To make my point across and people to understand what I was saying.
Mhm.
Then I went to the ACC, finalized the ESL program, the level 4. And then I thought that I was gonna be that's it. Then I met I'm really good with people. I think I have a passion for people and for communicating with people, and like to try to understand people in a different way, right? Like I don't just judge anybody. I try to look people and try to like understand who they are, where they come from. So that has been a passion of mine. And then so I met one of my teachers at ACC, the ESL. She enrolled me into the associate program at ACC. I don't know how she did it. Don't ask me. Then I finished that 2 years. I graduated top of my class. I got a couple awards for I think a fast learner in English and
Yeah.
blah, 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 why not. And then I graduated from that. And then the moment that I applied to University of Houston, they accepted me. That was the moment when my dream, you asked me when the dream was fulfilled. That was the moment my dream was fulfilled, because I
That's
knew
awesome.
that I had the chance to go to university in the United States. So I beat every single odds that was against me.
It's awesome, man. And you were also part of a badass program within U of H. The Wolf Center for Entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Man, that program changed my life as well.
Mine as well. Yeah.
The crazy thing about that program and really about me about that program is that I had no idea what I wanted to do at university. I know I wanted to go to school, and I know I wanted to start my own business, but I was going to go to school for finance and just get by and get a degree and move on with my life. So whenever I noticed that there was a university entrepreneurship program, I went there and looked it up and researched and was looking through all these videos on YouTube of students or past students, making these videos about why they wanted to be a part of the program and blah, blah, blah. And I was looking at it and I was like, man, this sounds like a badass, pretty cool program. Like, it's pretty cool experiences at a young age, like 18, 20 years old, right? And man, those interviews when I had Ken Jones there and Dave Cook, I mean, you had the duo there. So you had the mom and the dad interviewing you, you know what I mean? And it was a crazy experience. I remember, like, every day I would go on YouTube, look up a different video, see what these people are talking about, why they wanted to be a part of the program. And then I would look at videos of, like, university, the videos that U of H make about that program, what they have accomplished, what are they doing. And I had no idea, like, what to expect when I was accepted. It was crazy. But that program changed the course of my life, man. It was crazy. I had no idea how that happened. I have no idea how I got in. Dave Cook might know, or Ken Jones might know. But till this day, it's just a surprise to me.
Have you asked Dave why?
Yeah, but I mean, me and Dave, like, we play, we talk shit. That's it. That's all we do to each other. But at the end of the day, like, it's all love. But we haven't never really had that serious conversation of, like, why did you pick me? What did you see in me that you didn't see?
The 35 or 36, huh?
Yeah.
Because you had 35 students to get in, I think.
We had 40 in our class.
It is funny that you mentioned that you kind of didn't have an idea going through. I already had a plan.
I didn't have a plan. Like, I was just trying to get through college and get out and start my own business, or, like, maybe join the family business. Mm-hmm. That was my plan.
Yeah.
And
so
yeah.
To explain this plan to you, I had to go a little back in the past, and probably your parents would be the perfect example that would understand this. So when you move to the U.S., there is a trade-off. Especially when you move at young age, or, like,
Mm-hmm.
the trade-off is, yes, you're gonna be getting a better life, but you losing family in a sense, like, right?
That's a huge trade-off.
Yeah. When I went back, think about it. I left my country at 16. I went back when I was 26, 10 years. So
Wow.
I go back, right? The first day I go back to my country, and the first time 10 years, and then my brothers and sisters, we love each other. I love my sisters and my brothers.
Is a long time.
And 10 years, and then little than not the second day they are talking, and that's the moment then I realized the trade-off and what it was.
What the sacrifice was.
Yeah, I saw my sisters and my brothers talking in the kitchen with my mom, and they were laughing, and they were saying, "I remember this day." And I was like, holy shit, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Then that was a trade-off. So when I moved to this country and I left my family behind to make a better life for them and for myself, then I'm always in constant search of family. And that's something that, like, probably if you ask your parents, your mom probably they went through. So you always looking for family, that family, right? We always want what we don't have. Right. Yeah. And so when I learned about WCE the first time that I learned about it, and then they've mentioned the word family, I was like, I need to be there. And in a sense, I was looking for that family, and I was looking for a place to belong, to say, hey, now I have friends that I can develop from that point on, right? Because if you don't have something in common, if you don't create a meaningful relationship, like building blocks from something, then it's just a friendship, but it's not gonna be a long-lasting friendship. Yeah. And I saw that opportunity in WC, and I was like, I need to get there. I need to be there because I want to start my long-lasting friendships. At some point, I had to start that, right? Because that's the people that you rely on. When you want to be successful, you're not successful by yourself, like you said. You are successful for the people that you are around, the people that's around you. Yeah. And I knew that I needed that, and then I got into the program, and to this day, I love my friends. Like they're I some of these people I don't even consider my friends. I consider like my brothers and sisters, and that's my family. And that was my reason. So I had that plan.
That's your reward, I guess you
Exactly.
can say, in that experience.
So you see, like through these, we're like exchanging different, like experience, different ideas. What is your motive? What is mine? And I think the quality of this podcast, right? It's not like we have one set of like, oh no, we're gonna talk about this and discuss this and how do you get
Yeah.
it? It's like, hey, what is your motive? How do you get you there? I love your idea so far. I love the podcast.
Are you gonna listen to it every day?
I will listen to it. I will subscribe.
Yeah, everyone out there, subscribe, by the way.
Yeah, please. Yeah, give us a like and Apple Podcast.
No, but we also like feedback.
Exactly.
Feedback is always great, and that's how you grow. That's how you continue to grow. But, so we're gonna continue doing these podcasts. We're gonna try to bring on some people in person, and maybe some. We have to probably do something through video call, especially right now since some of these COVID cases are spiking here in Houston, which is some scary stuff. But we want to make it alongside with like being super positive about life, and never taking anything for granted, and just continuing to grow every single day, no matter the situation. So we're gonna continue this podcast. We're gonna continue the conversation, and we're gonna try to make whoever's listening understand what we're doing, and try to make an impact in their life somehow or some way. That's the problem where we have to solve.
I agree with you 100%. I think one of the things that that we have to be positive about life, like you mentioned, is that there is always someone in the worst situation than you are, right?
Oh yeah.
We always think like, oh, I hate rock bottom. I'm never gonna get out of this, but that's not true, right? I feel like we have to bring that positive aspect in our lives and say, hey, you're not alone in this. Like, I might not relate completely where you are right now, but hey, what can I do to help? And
I know a lot of people that have come here at a young age and went through the same thing or like similar, like went through university and like now they're working at a good job, and then they're part of the DACA program, and those liberties can be taken away instantly. And like I just feel like you contribute so much to something, and like it's just gone.
Yeah.
And your story behind like coming at a very young age, achieving your goals, figuring out how the heck am I going to do this without knowing anything is a true inspiration, man, to anybody that wants to come to this country, because this country can give you so many opportunities that in other countries just you can't because of corruption. I mean, it's super, super sad, but that's the reality of the life that is being lived here on this earth.
Yeah. No, I know the great point that you bring. That it is funny that you say that, that these people come at young age and they're established something and they know this is the only life that they know. To this day, I love this country is my country. Like, I always joke with my friends that they don't even have to ask me to deny my country twice, my original country, because I feel like I never belong there. We always looking for that place of belonging. So these people, DACA, fighting these, this battle, I can relate 100% with them because they don't know any other country. This is their country. This is where they belong. Their lives are here. Their families are here,
Yeah.
Like even just me that I came 60 years, I was already 16 and now, I don't see any other country as my home country. This is my country. This is where I belong. I will die for this country. That's how much I love this country. And not just because of the opportunities given to me, but the place that has been provided, the place that has given me in society, to me in society. That's the sense of belonging. I think it was.
I totally agree with you, man. I just don't know what goes through people's heads to make a decision of like ending a program that at the end of the day, man, benefits everybody. Like, if you don't want to be something in this country, you will not be something in this country. But if you want to be somebody, you will be somebody.
Exactly.
Like I said, persistence, right? That's number one, man. If you're persistent in something that you want to achieve, it's gold. Yeah. You will make it happen, regardless of the situation.
Yeah.
And some people just don't have it. Some people just don't. They don't have that drive in wanting to be somebody, because in their growing up stages, when they were kids, they were never put to go sell paletas or go sell whatever, or put in those experiences. And I think it starts as a kid. It starts as a kid at a very young age. I feel like you have to have those experiences to understand the meaning of what life is going to throw at you at a later stage. Yeah, and from both of our experiences, we lived totally different lives, right? I was born and raised in Houston, Texas, first generation American citizen, Mexican American, and my parents were from, lived your life basically. They came at 16, 15 years old. So, I've heard those stories before, and it just is crazy how things have not changed throughout the life. You look back at history, things have not changed. Things are the same. Only advances that we've had so far is technology and information, access to information. Now we can see what's behind the blinds, right? And not really good things are behind there. And people are now starting to wake up and question, just like how you questioned, right? And figure out if this is some place that they want to live and grow and, build the next generation of Americans. And I feel like we had to, especially our generation, the millennial generation and the Gen Z generation, have to be able to change something to make life just a little bit more easier, but still having, the same type of like persistence and drive within people to live that American dream that they want to live. But if you're putting hurdles, intentional hurdles, then it's gonna be super hard.
Exactly.
Like super hard. It's going to be linearly impossible. But there is still a way. I'm not saying there's not. There is still a way. And people have done it. And if I can get those people in front of me, talk to me a little bit about how they did it, just like I've spoken to you, then that would help their situation.
That you mentioned another great point. You're making a great point in here. No, definitely. One of the things I think is we had to get stories out, because the way you move people is, to share your story, like where you come from, who you are. And I was guilty on not doing that, because I was afraid of being targeted, because of my situation, right, my status. And I was afraid to not share my story. And I think at WCE, if there is something that I would say taught me, was to free myself from that. And I owe that to Dave Cook. He inspired me to be free. I would never share my story to tell you how it came and how I would never be able to share that.
This is the first time. Exclusive.
It's exclusive.
Breaking news.
Exclusive. Subscribe. No, definitely. And we have to put these stories up there. Like, I feel like morally, I feel responsible for sharing my
Yeah.
story now with other people, because it's stories like mine that, from someone that came to this country with nothing but like I say, a bag of dreams and nothing else. It makes a difference. Like, we're not rapers, we're not bad people, we're not, like the people with the
Yeah.
labels. I don't subscribe to any of that. I was just a human being that wanted to escape a country that I knew that it wasn't gonna give me the education that I wanted, the place, to belong,
Yeah.
to. And I escaped that, and I find that here. And ever since I came here, I pay my taxes, I pay my dues. I am a good, human being. I do the right thing. So, I came here to do good for myself, to do good for my family, and to do good for society, for the greater good.
Yeah.
And I feel like we had to get the stories up there. I wish I can, like, say my story to thousands of other people. Hopefully
Or
through
maybe
this
it's
podcast.
gonna reach a thousands of people. What do you mean?
I hope so, but yeah, no, definitely. Like, we had to get our stories, like our parents' stories, our own stories up there, and like,
Yeah.
educate the people that we're not bad people. We just want a place. We just want to belong. We just want to be, contribute, keep generate. We are the engine of this nation.
Good. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
As entrepreneurs as well, like, that is the driver of every economy. Being an entrepreneur. Someone had to take an idea and throw it out there into the market and, like, make it flourish. And a good example is the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos. And his story just motivates the shit out of me, because there's a famous picture out there. I'm sure everyone has seen it, where it's a shitty ass poster in the back of his office with a computer in front of his face, and he's just there chilling, working. It's probably a late night too, I would think, And then looking to that, where this man is in his life, is super motivating. And I can think of the same thing about my parents, my father, my uncles that have made it and that are comfortable in their life and actually are now prepared for retirement and wanting to do everything that they want to do that they couldn't do at their younger years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think, something super motivational and looking at being an entrepreneur and, like you said, full of dreams.
Yeah. That is another thing that I learned recently is, entrepreneurs are the ones who, in a sense, build the next generations, right? The economy. We're the ones who take an idea from nothing and build something. And another movement that is going right now is, Black Lives Matters. That's also an important, topic to talk about, because I learned, I think 2 weeks ago this podcast about limiting these people, the right of freedom to these people, like, actually put us behind in time, because these people were innovators too. So think about it, the freedom that we didn't give them back then, or this country didn't give them back then. There was patents that were not developed, there was inventions that were not pursued. So in fact, put the country behind, because these people from, I forget the years, but from this period of time when they were, like, oppressed by society, by the government, because of the fear, they stop developing, they stop, like, creating patents, they stop inventing, they stop innovation. So that's why the worst enemy of innovation, of entrepreneurship nowadays is is policies, is these regulations, is all this shit that stop us from accomplish great things and bring good things to humanity.
Yeah, but there's checks and balances to that as well. There has to be something in between to check you. You know what I'm saying? If you're doing something different. I mean, there's many cases out there that, like, people are building something, supposedly building something, and are screwing up the word or the world of an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? So, like, I get your point on that, and I feel like yes, because of these restrictions and roadblocks that are being put on certain types of groups of ethnicities, it hurts. It
Yeah.
hurts everybody.
I agree with you with 100%. So I guess my point was not in the regulations more; it was in the blogs as segregation to certain groups, right?
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
like the Hispanic community, like being like their labels, the label that we have illegal, right? Like that we generally when like someone wanted to say something mean about us, it's like oh
Yeah.
illegals, blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
and that is limitation that they put on us because not all of them, like I we're more than that, right? Like
There's always, you know, there's always going to be bad apples in the group.
yeah. So
You know, that's not going to happen. But yeah,
going back to the limitations, I'm curious though, what do you think would be some of the limitations that like need to be put in place, right? To I think push for entrepreneurship or like innovation in a sense, and what do you think there are some of the limitations or that needs to be taken down and say, okay, these limit us from accomplish this, the next step, moving on.
well, I guess talking about like really in a society perspective, I think, um, you know, a lot of this world, I guess, is run by big corporates. You know, and maybe you might not even know who they are, but like, it's run by a company with a lot of money and a lot of influence, both in the government policies, but as well as like in the private sector. But I think one of the main drivers should be adopting new technology. And with situations on how like this COVID-19 is occurring right now, there is a lot of push for adopting new technology. But again, there's a lot of push back, and push in adopting new technology because they're just uncertain of the economy. Like, would I invest in something that I can keep my money now and be safe, or should I risk it and lose that portion of money into something that might not work because of the situation that we're in? But it probably will work in a good economy, like we were back in January, where we didn't have anything of this. So, like, in situations where there's a crisis, there's a lot of innovation happening. And I've seen it a lot where, like, you have these natural disasters occurring, like let's say an earthquake or a flood. There's always innovative solutions to prevent something from happening. But it only happens because there's a disaster. So perhaps some lives might be lost, and some property might be lost, but that may bring back the innovation of like, how can we prevent this from happening again? And so with COVID, I think is bringing a lot of innovation, towards a medical, and towards the medical field, right? Bringing vaccines that they're developing super fast, that it takes 10 years to develop a good vaccine, right? So, and now they're planning to do it within a year. How do we get there and so like getting FDA approval, like they're now backing down their regulations and their barriers because they know if they do not do that, then I'm not going to be able to save lives a year from now, or the economy is going to crash like it's crashing now. So those are just some of the things, like, that there's a problem and then we need solutions. And so we need to figure out a way, how do we get solutions for this problem? And bringing those barriers down is super important. And that comes to also, government agencies, public companies, or private companies that are just needing this innovation and needing people from all types of ethnicities, to accomplish there's a specific goal, right? Of getting a vaccine per se. So when you limit that, like when they're trying to kill the DACA program or like H-1B visa program, you're limiting that innovation. You're limiting the factor of like, we need to fix this problem that is currently in front of us to get to back where we were. And then we can fix that problem later. So, you know, man, it's just, I don't know. Government is weird, man. It's some weird stuff, and I don't get it right now. Like, I wish I could talk a little bit more in detail of like what's really going on within this, but I just, in some instances, I want to get away from it because it's a lot of negativity, and I hate negativity. But in some cases, like, I need to learn what's going on, educate myself around it, figure out a way, like, how can I help? But, like, also in some cases, you just can't help. And that's the sucky part, where, you know, you think you have all this power and leverage and influence. In some cases, you just don't. You can't. But like, if there's a group surrounding like the protests that's been occurring, you know, those are some situations where you can raise your voice and you know, make other people understand what you're going through and what needs to be fixed. But at the end of the day, you know, you got to do it safe.
Yep, I agree.
You got to do it safe because like now these cases that are popping up are, you know, from Memorial Day weekend, protest, and it's just like, you know, maybe it was worth it because there's change now happening, but how many lives are now being lost because of it? And you just got to understand that perspective, but, you know, people might not never understand it, and they'll beat you up for it. Like, they'll, you know. So, like you said, education is key. Yeah. Ignorance is ignorance.
I agree. So now put it into perspective, you know, our company, Sensytec. What do you think, let's put it this way, what do you find out some of the barriers, you know, that we have today that could have taken down, you know, because what we have is a good technology, right? And I'm not saying it because I'm part of it, but because we could do so much good for
it's so
people.
Much good.
Like just monitoring, you know, preach, like
so
literally.
I'll just give a perspective of what we're doing so people would know. So we've developed technology that focuses purely around a specific material, cement, concrete. And so with that, we want to be able to monitor the status and performance of that specific concrete that you're placing in the field, right? So we can monitor, you know, the you know, cracks, the water cement ratios, the temperature of concrete. Those are all parameters that we can monitor and understand the performance of it, so that if there's bad concrete, it does not collapse on you like Miami Bridge collapse or the Italy Bridge collapse or the, you know, Florida Bridge that just currently cracked, you know, 2 weeks ago and now shut down the whole freeway. So being able to have predictive and preventive measures in critical infrastructure is super important to the lifestyle we live. Our population is not slowing down. We're growing, right? And exponentially in different cities. So there has to be infrastructure that's tailored around that population growth to continue, right? Because like so I guess getting to the point where I guess barriers to entry or barriers to adopt a new technology, like I said in the past, is entities or organizations and overall people that are comfortable with what they're doing today and are, I guess, not open-minded to new things that overall can help them, but they just don't see it. because they're comfortable, they're not willing to take a small chunk of risk, is killing the innovation. A lot of people are worried about themselves. And that's understandable. I mean, if I'm making six figures and I'm comfortable at what I'm doing and I'm taking vacations every now and then, why would I pick somebody up and use their technology and there's a risk of something failing? You know, I won't. I won't do that. Like if you're in that situation, but that's closed-minded people. That's people that only think of themselves and don't necessarily think of the benefits that this technology could potentially save whenever I'm gone or I'm retired as an engineer. A lot of engineers, or maybe some engineers, I would say, they over-design their structures anyway, right? So I'm confident that this structure will last 60, 70 years, but there's many cases out there where because of the population growth and because of different natural disasters, it's not lasting that long, right? So, I designed it for it, but it's actually not happening. But if there was something in the middle that can tell me what exactly the status of that specific structure is going through, then now I can plan, or someone that filled my shoes after I retired can plan and figure out a fix to that specific problem. So overall, that's what we're trying to do here with Sensytec, is to give this industry in construction and oil and gas the opportunity to have preventative measures that potentially could save lives, and at the end of the day, save them some time and money at the end, these companies in the beginning, whenever they're building these structures. So, it's an interesting game that we're in, and an interesting field, honestly, within construction and oil and gas, because there's a lot of old school players.
Yeah, it's education. Remember?
Yeah.
They're not educated.
Education. Yeah. Education.
And like you say, there is two factors here: risk. They don't wanna, put themselves in a situation like, oh, I don't know this technology, I'm afraid to use it. And then is, for a lack of a better word, is they're accustomed to do the things that they've been doing for generations, right? So that's the two factors in place. And when these people have this mindset and grow in this, and now these people are like 60, 50 years old doing these same things over and over, and then you come as a new, say, say, hey, I had this cool, badass technology that is gonna, not only make your life much, much easier, but also it's gonna benefit for the greater good of humanity, right? Like the greater good of the community, because now having a monitoring system that is constantly monitoring that structure, knowing that you don't have to worry about like sending a person to monitor every year to make sure a crack, and it's really hard to move around the blocks that I just mentioned, like the risk. How do we overcome that? Like, how do we educate these people and tell them, that there is risk, like in everything else is risk, but how do we tell them that, the risk is less?
Yeah, I think, you do that by education, like you said, and you do that by showing and telling, show and tell. So a lot of way we do things here is that we talk basically. You know what I mean? We show you results, and we go by those results and we stand by those results. And so when you're in the early stages of like technology adoption, you have to have those results, because if you don't, no one's gonna believe you. And that's the problem. It's like, is this technology believable enough that we can put this into a critical structure or not? And you might have some cases where people are just not wanting to do it, and maybe that's your wrong target.
But how do you show these people results if they close the door at the first?
You have to force it. And like,
You know.
like we've been instances where like people just like shut us down, right? Like they don't tell us, hey, no, I'm not interested. I don't want it. So look, it's not costing you anything to see what's going to happen, like to test this. I would pay whatever it costs, to show you that it works and it would benefit you. And then I'm not bullshitting. You know what I mean? And I'm here to just do business and help you. Like, give me a piece of the pie, but you get the bigger piece.
Mm-hmm.
I just want a piece of that little pie.
I got kicked out twice already for jet size.
But that's just like people that are not open-minded enough to take that decision on, or maybe these people are busy.
Exactly. I think that's I always wanted to give the benefit of the doubt, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we go, it's a bad timing, bad place, right? Sometimes maybe that person is not having the best day, right? But when you go back there twice and the third time and there's the same results, then there's something wrong there.
At the end of the day, too, you also got to pick your own battles.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you know that you're going to lose that battle, don't waste your time on that battle.
Okay. So that would be one advice you would give out a fellow entrepreneur to listen to us. Like, hey.
Like, if you tried your best in making this work for somebody and they still do not see the value in that, don't waste your time. Time is super, super important for an early stage startup, because you will never get that back. You don't get time back. So if I could spend that time that I spent on one person trying to show them something, if I can spend that time on someone that actually cares, that's a lot more valuable. So I think, picking the battles that you want to fight correctly, that means doing your research. That means understanding that customer. That means understanding what value do I really bring and how easily can I show that value, right? If I can't easily show that value and they don't get it, then I've just lost my own battle. So I think that's one way of like winning over a good solid customer, is picking your battles wisely, sticking to those battles, and in the first meeting you will know. In the first meeting you will know if that battle that you're fighting with that specific customer is going to give you results or not, because their face or the way of thinking and their reaction to what you're telling them is going to light up the room, and you will know because it's going to light up your face
exactly
as well. And those are the types of battles you want to continue to fight. And it might not happen that same day. You might have to fight that battle for many weeks down the road. But at the end of the day, that's a battle worth fighting for, because there's something there, right? And you're not wasting your time. You're creating a relationship now, right? So I think any sales or, those types of, I guess, strategies you can take on and the sales strategy would be, pick your battles wisely. I mean, if I'm going to go out, if I'm in a boxing ring, I don't want to fight a 7-foot, 300-pounder. I'm never going to win, right? Or it's going to be hard for me to win. I want to pick the fights that are either even or lower than me, because those are the ones that I'm going to win. And the stronger I get, the more wins I get, the more wins I build up, the more confident I am. And that way now I can beat a Goliath.
So it's like building your character through the battles.
Yes.
Okay. That makes sense.
Experiences.
Yeah.
Getting
armed, right? Getting your weapons. You start with
you live and you learn.
Throwing punches, and then you put the more
because
nose.
If you start with a Goliath, you know what I mean?
Then it's gonna destroy
Then it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
But start at the bottom and then work your way up, baby steps. And choosing those fights could be some hard, but also researching those fights, could be difficult too, because you might be shooting for the stars, and you see an opportunity there. But at the end of the day, how are you going to get there? The resources you have to get there, is that enough to close that deal or not? But yeah.
Any other advice that you think is relevant? Because there is a lot of people, especially in this time, right? The uncertainty and a lot of people going out of business, a lot of people struggling, a lot of people, and we can say that we are there too, right?
Yeah,
like, but
of course.
not, are
Nobody's
getting
not
new
there.
customers, and like construction is slowed down and a lot of things. What would you say to motivate these people to bring a little, I guess, good vibe to them? What would you tell them?
Man, the way I'm doing it is, cutting costs. The main factor about a business is staying alive. The way you stay alive is by having some cash. Because you need cash to be able to continue, unless you have a different type of product that doesn't require it. But for us, like, if we have cash in the bank, we're good. We can continue to have what we have and grow it little by little, but it's growing. I don't have to have $100 million in the bank or $1 million in the bank to be happy. You know what I mean? And there's some entrepreneurs that's what they think about, is how can I get to that $1 million, because at that point I'm happy. You know what I mean? And maybe they can make it work, or maybe they can't. And maybe that's probably the reason why they can't get to, because they're just thinking about that dollar sign. But they're not really thinking about the main objective. Like, if I build up a customer base, that $1 million has become nothing, and it's actually going to be 2 times, 3 times, 4 times after, more than that. So I guess, figure out a way of how to stay alive and how to keep some cash in the bank for whenever this is done, I can hit the ground running, and that is the biggest headache and things that will keep you up at night is the financials, and if you can find support in those and helping you with those finances and just kind of keeping you there, that is something that would take a lot of pain away from whoever's in charge, because that is what's going to keep you awake. That keeps you awake. I think the finances is super important, and that's the livelihood of the business. And it's not easy for some businesses. It's not easy, and that's why they go bankrupt. You starting out to see so many stores, so many retail places that you thought were like in great shape, or they were doing really good in business, but now they're filing for bankruptcy. And because they did not manage their finances well enough to be able to withstand a crisis like this, says a lot about how that business was running. And if there's a business that is surviving right now during a crisis like this, says a lot about that business too. It says a lot about the people that are running that business, because not many people could go through this. I mean, you have $100 million businesses that are on the stock exchange going out of business. How is that possible? You have so much money in the bank. How are you going broke? Well, at the end of the day, you actually never made money. You actually never made a profit. And these days, it's like the way of making money is totally different now.
Exactly.
It's not based on profit no more. Like, if I make $1 is profit. But if I lose 10, but I have 10 customers or whatever, how is that different from making money now? You know what I mean? If I'm losing money by having so many people on the platform and I don't make any money, how is that really a business that I can run? I don't want to lose money. I want to get money. I want to make profit. That is a business. That is something that's going to sustain you and actually make you grow later on and grow your business. Is profitability, not just revenue. But that was a long answer. But
so key takeaways: manage your cost, right? Be smart about your spending.
yes,
Pay close attention.
yes,
Only use money in the areas that you need it.
yes,
Definitely. I will add to that persistence, right? Persistence, and one word that I love is perseverance. Perseverance, I think, is it helps you, right? It helps you manage the money, the budget. It helps you manage the people. It helps when you are perseverance, when you have that perseverance, that drive, that grit. I feel like you find ways around. So yeah, I love that answer. Yeah. So
yeah, I think that's super important too, because some people feel like, oh man, I have to go through this and I'm stuck. I don't know what to do with my life. I owe people so much money and my life is over. But I just feel like staying positive, figuring things out, slow down, think about it. Just think about it, and there's always a way out of something. And like I mentioned, connecting with people that are in the places that you're going, that you want to go, find mentors, then they will help you get out of it.
Now that you mentioned something, another great point: mentors, finding people, connect. Yeah, so I think that's another value that you can offer to the audience or anybody that you might want to bring to the podcast, right? You already passed through so many accelerators, incubators. You're well connected in the ecosystems, and I would say that a lot of these people, they might starting a business, they need those connections. Those connections doesn't happen from one day to another. You have to leverage, but having a warm introduction of someone that is already connected into the ecosystem is a plus.
It's super helpful. Yeah, many people have connected me with mentors that are that I've created, or that they've introed me, and I've cultivated that relationship, and now they're my mentors, and it's just super, super important to have those people around you. And one thing is, never be afraid to ask for anything, never be afraid. Being vulnerable is super important in the business world. And I think that's the key to getting out of this crisis, man. Yeah.
Really, we are not in this alone. Huh?
You're not on this alone. You always have somebody there that are in the same shoes that figured out a way out, or that are in the same shoes that also need help. So now you can tag team both of those problems at the same time. So yeah. Well, this is our conclusion to the podcast. I don't even know how long we've been talking, but we've been talking for a good while. But this is how I wanted to be. You know what I mean? I wanted to be where it's
conversation. Yeah.
Just conversation.
Open, just
open-minded.
Like you say, vulnerability. Vulnerable.
Exactly.
Bringing it to the table. Judgment-free zone. No one is gonna judge you. Love it. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for being my first. I'm
honored to be the first, the first host. Guest into the podcast. And
no. So I'm looking to bring some more people on, and maybe we have to do it through Zoom or something. But this is a pretty cool. I like it, and we're gonna continue doing this for everybody. So anybody hearing out there, just like and subscribe, and continue to follow us, give us feedback, and hopefully you learn something through this experiences. Over and out.
Thank you.